This is either going to be brilliant or I've made a terrible decision. How's it going there, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back once again to the unit. So in our update video that me and Kayla done where we introduced her Mk4 and gave you a bit of an update about what was going on, we said that we was going to do a 24-hour live stream in which we wanted to strip the entirety of the donor car, the Mk4 V5 that we bought for my Mk4, down in 24 hours. Now, unfortunately, tech was fighting us, and at about 1 in the morning, we had to knock it on the head and just leave it. So me and Corbin actually got the rest finished off camera, and basically the point that we're at is the workshop is a complete and utter mess because all of the parts are everywhere. This is actually the top of the front subframe, well, top of the strut, which is connected to the subframe here. There's drive shafts over there, engine there, bits all under the mezzanine. The place is a mess. I can't even walk in here properly, so I seriously need to get this place tidied up and get things sorted. So yesterday, the shell of the donor car went to the scrapyard. So on the way back yesterday, I picked up about 130 quid's worth of timber, and I'm gonna build a really nice big set of shelves on a bare bit of wall that I've got. And every single part from the V5 is going to go up onto that shelf. Everything is all over the place. So if I can organise everything, get it all tidied away, and then I can actually get on with doing my Mk4. It's been ages since I've done anything, and it's just been up on the ramp. So I'd like to get it down, get it stripped, and then we can finally get on with some work. Right, before I could get any paint on these walls, I had to rip all this mesh down. It's been up here for a few years with banners and all sorts of things hanging off of it. I ended up going black on the framework, grey on the sheets, and white on the walls. Mainly because I like the look, it's a nice clean look, but also hopefully the white will bounce a bit more light around because this place has never exactly been the brightest. I'm not trying to make this place look like some sort of Instagram garage or anything like that. I just want it to be something that I can be a bit proud of, a bit nicer to work in, and if I'm filming in here all the time, it might as well just look half decent. Second coat of paint is drying, so in the meantime, I'm going to make a start on building these shelves because this place is chaos and I need somewhere for parts to go before we can start to strip the Golf down. I know shelves aren't exactly the most exciting thing to watch, but they're just one of those jobs that makes everything else so much easier afterwards. Decided to stain them black. It goes with the colour scheme and hopefully it'll hide all the dirt and oily fingerprints a little bit better as well. Plus, this stuff is moisture resistant, so if any coolant or anything like that leaks out of the parts, hopefully it's not going to damage the wood. And nothing fancy, just some simple shelves that'll do the job, but sometimes that's all you need. Amazing how much of a difference a few shelves make. Everything's finally got a home. I know where all the V5 bits are and it's starting to feel like an actual workshop instead of just somewhere I've been chucking parts into. Right, so that is a lot better. Everything from the donor is now in one place. Is it organised? No, not at all. Does it look like I've basically taken a pile of parts from the floor and put them on the shelves? Yes, that is exactly it. However, that was never the intention for this. It was purely a case of making the unit usable, even just so that I could walk around in here. So nothing is organised, and apart from the obvious bits down here and the engine at the back on the stand, that is how you put the entirety of a Mk4 Golf on shelves. Will I sort through them? Probably not, but if I do get a chance to, I will. Basically, if I hit a stopping point working on mine, then I've got something to do. But we have got somewhere for all the parts to be, and when I do start eventually working on my Golf, I'm not going to be tripping over parts every 5 minutes. So there's still loads to do in here. I've only got this one bit painted, so the rest of the walls need painting. There's still loads of tidying to do. However, the place is now functional, and that's the important bit. So there's a couple of things that I actually want to go over on this. Not ever had any questions about it, but just sort of builds a bit of a backstory basically, and gives you guys an understanding as to why I'm putting myself through all this and doing all this. I suppose the first sort of big question would be, why this Golf? Originally, it was actually never supposed to become a big project. I actually bought it as a replacement for my Citroen Zara Picasso that I was driving at the time, which, if I'm completely honest, I absolutely hated it. I bought the Golf, and over time, I just completely fell in love with it. As you'll know, it's been to shows, it's been to Tucked at the Manor, Modified Nationals. It's made some really good memories, and at some point, it stopped just being a daily and became something I actually cared about. Not to say that I didn't care about it to start with. When I first bought the car, I think that's when I originally fell in love with it. I wanted to build this one properly and turn it into the version of what I've always had in my head, and basically just bring that to life. Next question, why would you swap from a 1.9 PD? I've not got anything against the 1.9 TDIs at all. They're reliable, they sound decent for what they are, and there's loads of good builds out there with diesels. But that's the thing, there are loads of them. I wanted to do something a bit different, which I know sounds a bit contradictory when, Ben, you're building a Mk4 Golf. You've already said there's loads out there. Yes, but I wanted something a bit different in the sense of that, A, it's gone from a diesel to a petrol. B, I haven't gone for a VR6. So there's two things that are very different from most builds, especially on the Mk4s. And to be honest, I love a car that makes noise. I love a loud petrol car. Don't get me wrong, a diesel sounds great. I wanted something with more character, more sound, and just something special about it that you feel every time you start it up and drive it. Following on a little bit from there, why the 2.3 V5? Well, once you start pricing up a VR6, they get expensive pretty quickly, even just finding a parts car that's rotten. People know what they've got, people want money for them. Even if the only thing that's actually any good anymore is the engine alone. The rest of the running gear might be absolutely annihilated and they still want big money just because it's a VR6. This 2.3 V5 came up at the right price and it just made sense. I thought, perfect, it's cheap. I can buy the car, I've got everything there, full package. It's not a case of somebody selling a conversion and then you come to it and find that you need loads of parts, this, that and the other. I've got everything there. So in theory, if I pick everything up out of the donor car, put that into my Golf, it should work. So like I said, buying the whole car means I've got everything that I need for the swap. Engine, parts, all the little bits that you always end up chasing afterwards that possibly aren't being sold anymore and you probably won't even find. And honestly, there is something cool about a V5. You know, you think of a V engine, you think V6, V8, V10, V12, odd number of cylinders, and plus it does make it that bit more workable. You've got one less cylinder, you've got that bit more room around in the engine bay. You don't see loads of them around, and I think that sort of suits the idea of building something that bit different. Ben, why not be sensible? Save yourself a load of money, time, work, probably hassle as well, and just buy one that's built. Because I don't want to just own it. I want to build the car. I want to know every nut and bolt on this car so that when I turn up at a show, if somebody asks me a question about it, I've got a very good chance that I can answer the question. And I can, if I've done something different from the way that Volkswagen originally built it, I can say what I've done. And that sparks up even more of a conversation. Look, at the end of the day, we're car guys. We like to talk about our cars. So if somebody can come up to me and ask me a question rather than going, I don't know, and then that's it, the conversation's dead, I can spring up a conversation with them. And that's the other thing. I want to turn up at a show and actually say, we built this ourselves. It will be a mix, obviously, where there's other jobs that need doing that I haven't got either the tools or expertise to do, there will be other companies involved. That's not to say that I won't include them whenever I say who the car was built by. And honestly, half the fun's the process. Like, the nights down here that I'm going to be able to have with Kayla, Corbin as well, no doubt. You know, again, even though I'm not driving the car, I'm not using the car, it's still going to be creating memories, and I can't wait for that. Obviously, the finished car is the goal. Is a car ever finished? Whether it's a project car, show car, drift car, no. A car is never finished, but that's the goal that we're chasing. But the whole rebuild is part of why I'm doing this, because it's part of the journey and it's just going to add to the car even more. So what's next? Well, first things first, this car needs to be stripped right back to a bare shell. And when I say a bare shell, I mean literally bare. Every single bolt, every single trim, wiring, suspension, it all needs to come off. Once the car is a completely bare shell, I'm going to send it away to be shot blasted. Did think about acid dipping, however that is very expensive, and I've seen quite a few horror stories online where acid has still been sat in seams and everything else. So shot blasting seemed to be the best way to go, or from what I can figure out in any case. Once it is shot blasted, I'm obviously going to have a completely bare car, and I'm going to see if there's any repairs that need to be done. I'd much rather find out about any repairs now than halfway through the build. After that, basically, I'm going to dry fit everything. I'll try everything in first, just see that everything's going to fit. If I need to make any adaptations to it, then I can do. Once that's been done, it'll be then stripping it apart again, and basically it'll be time for any body repairs and paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align all the panel gaps, get everything flush, fitting nicely, and then that'll be ready to go for paint. I do have somebody in mind for that. All being well, he'll be able to paint the car and hopefully be able to film something whilst he does it as well. After it's been painted, we'll be finally on to the rebuild, which is a bit of a way down the road, but I'd say it's worth hanging on for. When I say a rebuild, I mean a rebuild. Everything has got to go back in. The swap, suspension, wiring, absolutely everything, every single nut and bolt, and everything needs to be replaced or fixed where it's required as well. It's an old car. The car that the engine came from was an old car, so it's bound to find some bits, but that's where the fun of it starts to come in. Modifying a car isn't just bolting on a set of wheels, it is making parts work. Not necessarily parts from the car that should have been there in the first place, but that is part of it. You build the car, and that is the entire idea. The goal is not just get the car running again, it is to build the best version of this car that I possibly can. Then comes the bit that, apart from the paint, I'm probably most looking forward to. The first turn of the key. Hopefully it starts first time, but if you've ever worked on cars, you know that's probably not going to be the case. So, donor is gone, the shelves are built, and the parts are somewhat organised in the sense of that they're in one place, and I'm not going to be kicking them around the workshop or anything like that. Is the workshop done? No, not even close. There's still loads to tidy and improve, but I don't want to spend weeks working on that without actually getting on with the golf. At the end of the day, this channel is about building cars, not painting walls. Next time we're at the workshop, we're going to stop talking about it and we're going to get on with it. Finally going to start stripping the golf. This is either going to be brilliant or I've made a terrible decision.